Before we dive in, if you love real, raw stories like this, please subscribe to my channel and share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear how you'd feel in this situation. It was 2:15 a.m. when my phone buzzed. I groggily reached for it, thinking it was one of those late-night work alerts. But the screen lit up with her name, Emily, my wife, and then I read the message. I can't do this anymore. I'm not coming home tonight. My heart froze. My stomach sank. My mind refused to process the words. At first, I thought it was a prank, some sick joke, maybe even a wrong number. But the unmistakable way her thumb typed, too familiar to doubt, made it real. I stared at my phone, shaking. My apartment was dark, silent, except for the soft hum of the fridge. I kept rereading the text, hoping that somehow if I read it enough, it would vanish. It didn't. A few minutes later, I noticed the timestamp on her last location, some nightclub downtown. My confusion turned to panic. Why was she there? Who was she with? And more importantly, why hadn't she called? In the following hours, my mind replayed the past few weeks. Subtle changes I had ignored. Missed calls that she brushed off with "I was busy," mysterious texts she quickly deleted, nights out that seemed just with friends but came with vague details. I had questioned myself first, asking if I was imagining things, overthinking, being paranoid. But now, alone in my living room, every little detail suddenly felt like a warning I had missed. The night was endless. I tried calling her, no answer. I texted, begged for some explanation, but there was nothing. Silence. The kind of silence that screams louder than words. My thoughts began to spiral, flashing through memories that once made me smile. The way she used to kiss me goodnight, the laughter we shared over simple jokes, the way she would squeeze my hand during movies. Now, all of it felt tainted, as if it had been carefully staged to hide something I wasn't supposed to see. The next morning, Emily finally came home. She looked tired, her makeup smudged, but otherwise normal. My anger and confusion bubbled under the surface, but I forced myself to stay calm, at least for a few seconds. "Emily, what happened last night?" I asked, my voice trembling. She avoided my eyes. I went out with some friends. "Stayed late," she said, hesitating, choosing her words carefully. I shook my head. "Don't lie to me. I know you were at that nightclub, and I know you weren't just with friends." "Who was there?" Her eyes filled with guilt. It was Michael. I didn't mean for it to happen. The words hit me like a punch. Michael, someone I had met a few times, a colleague she had confessed, was just a friend. The betrayal settled over me, heavy and suffocating. My world, my home, the person I trusted most, suddenly felt like a stranger. We sat down and she tried to explain. She spoke of feelings that had grown over time, of loneliness she said she had felt even when I was present, of moments that she claimed left her craving something different. I listened, torn between wanting to scream, to cry, to leave, and a small, stubborn part of me that still loved her. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the shame, but the truth was clear. Trust had been broken, and nothing could undo the damage. I realized then that love alone wasn't enough. You can care for someone deeply, but if honesty and respect are gone, the foundation crumbles. Over the next days, I replayed everything, searching for signs, answers, something that made sense. Every message she sent, every excuse she gave, every small lie now screamed at me from memory. I had been blind, and the pain of realizing it cut deeper than any words could describe. I also felt something else, relief, in a strange, bittersweet way. Relief because I finally knew the truth. Relief because the uncertainty, the gnawing doubt that had eaten at me for weeks was gone. There was heartbreak, yes, but there was clarity. I made a choice, not out of vengeance, not out of anger, but for myself. I couldn't continue in a life where trust had been shattered. I needed to step away, rebuild, and reclaim the self-respect that had been quietly eroded. I needed to remind myself that my value wasn't tied to someone who couldn't honor our vows, our relationship, our shared life. Confronting her was painful. She begged, explained, even cried. I could see the genuine remorse, but remorse couldn't erase what had been done. I listened quietly, and then for the first time in a long time, I felt the courage to walk away. Not in hatred, but in quiet strength. Leaving that home for the last time wasn't dramatic. There were no shouting matches, no slammed doors, just silence. A silence that held both heartbreak and liberation. The apartment smelled faintly of her perfume, and I paused at the door, letting the memory sink in one last time. Then I closed it, knowing that the life I was leaving behind was gone, but a new one awaited. A life built on honesty, self-respect, and the slow, steady healing of a wounded heart. In the end, what I learned is that betrayal doesn't just hurt, it teaches. It teaches you who you are, what you deserve, and how to protect yourself. Love is important, but so is knowing when to let go and when to stand firm for your own dignity. If you've ever faced heartbreak, betrayal, or the shattering of trust, share your story in the comments. I read everyone, and I want you to know you are not alone. And remember, even in the darkest nights, there's a dawn waiting where you can rebuild stronger than before.